Rumpelstiltskin. A big shout out to Rodwin for requesting today's video. Long ago, when kingdoms still glittered with gold and the forests whispered of magic, there lived a miller on the edge of a bustling town. His mill was old, its wooden wheel creaking as it turned with the current of a narrow river. Though he worked tirelessly grinding grain for the villagers, the miller remained poor. Yet he possessed one treasure he valued above all the coins he never had: a daughter of striking beauty and uncommon grace.
Father, breakfast is ready. You've worked since dawn.
The miller loved his daughter fiercely, but envied the riches of those who passed by in carriages lined with velvet and gold. He often dreamed of elevating his humble name to that of nobles and courtiers. One market day, while delivering sacks of flour to the royal castle, the miller overheard courtiers speaking of the king's insatiable desire for wealth.
The king's love for gold is truly boundless.
It is said he dreams in ducats and jewels.
Imagine the vaults he must possess. The king's love for gold grows by the day.
An insatiable appetite indeed.
This king, though already rich, longed for treasures that no other monarch possessed. In his eagerness to impress the court and perhaps win royal favor, the miller boasted rashly,
"My daughter can spin straw into purest gold."
Did he just say that his daughter can turn straw to gold?
Word of this boast traveled quickly through the marble halls until it reached the ears of the king himself, who summoned the miller at once.
The miller claims his daughter can spin straw into gold, Your Majesty.
Miller, we have a message from the king. Bring this miraculous daughter to my castle tonight.
The miller's heart lurched. He knew his words were empty, a lie born of pride. Yet fear of the king's displeasure burned hotter than shame.
Father, why does the king call for me?
A chance for fortune, my dear. Nothing more.
That evening, he led his bewildered daughter through the castle gates, praying silently for some miracle to spare them both. The king welcomed the miller's daughter into a chamber unlike any she had ever seen. It was vast and cold, its stone walls hung with tapestries that depicted battles won and treasures conquered. At the center of the room stood a great spinning wheel beside a mountain of straw that reached nearly to the ceiling. Torches flickered along the walls, casting shadows that seemed to mock her trembling form. The king's eyes glittered as he gestured to the piles of straw.
If you are as talented as your father claims, you shall spend the night in this chamber and spin all this straw into gold.
Should you succeed, I will reward you beyond imagination. Should you fail, your life will pay the price.
With that, he locked the heavy door and left her alone. The miller's daughter sank to her knees, her heart pounding with terror. She had never even touched a spinning wheel beyond the ordinary work of wool, let alone transformed straw into anything but bundles for livestock. Tears filled her eyes as she stared helplessly at the mounds of dry stalks. No mortal skill could save her. Hours passed, the moon rising higher as despair consumed her. At the stroke of midnight, a faint creak echoed through the chamber. Startled, she looked up to see a most peculiar figure stepping from the shadows.
Who's there?
Why such sorrow, fair maiden?
The king has ordered me to spin this straw into gold by morning, or he will have me killed.
Impossible for you, perhaps, but not for me. What will you give me if I do this task on your behalf?
Hope flickered in her eyes, though caution warned her against bargains with strangers.
I have only this.
It will suffice.
The little man's grin widened. He seated himself at the wheel and began to spin. The straw fed into the spindle with a hiss like wind through reeds, and as it turned, shimmering threads of pure gold emerged. The girl watched in astonishment as the piles of dull straw transformed into gleaming coils. By dawn, every stalk had become gold, and the chamber shone as though the sun itself had descended. Without another word, the little man slipped away just as the first rays of morning touched the windows. The king entered soon after, his eyes widening with greed at the sight.
Magnificent!
But rather than releasing the girl, he led her to an even larger room, overflowing with straw. That night, despair returned. As the moon rose, so did the strange little man.
What will you give me this time?
The girl removed the ring her mother had once worn and offered it with trembling fingers. Again he spun through the night, and again the straw became gold. On the third evening, the king led her to the grandest chamber of all, filled to the rafters with straw.
If you succeed once more, you shall become my queen.
When the little man appeared that night, the girl's heart sank. The man's eyes glinted with something darker than mischief.
I have nothing left to give.
Then promise me your firstborn kid when you become queen.
Horror seized her.
If it must be so, I promise.
Satisfied, the little man spun the straw into gold for a third time, and by morning the chamber blazed with wealth beyond counting. True to his word, the king married the miller's daughter. Though she wore the crown of a queen, joy was slow to find her. The king's love was measured in coins and jewels, and though he admired her beauty, his heart remained fixed on his treasure vaults. Yet time softened the edges of her fear. And when at last she bore a child, her heart overflowed with happiness. The memory of her midnight bargain had faded like a distant nightmare. She seldom thought of the strange little man or the terrible promise she had made. One night, as she cradled her newborn in the quiet of the nursery, a shadow fell across the room.
Now, my queen, I have come for what is mine.
No! I will give you all the gold in the kingdom, but not my child!
A bargain is a bargain. I do not crave gold. I crave what was freely promised.
Please.
I will give you 3 days. Discover my name, and you may keep the child.
With a mocking bow, he disappeared into the shadows, leaving the queen trembling. That night, she summoned messengers to scour the kingdom for names both common and strange. By morning, she had a list as long as a royal decree. When the little man returned the next evening, she recited every name she knew.
Caspar, Melchior, Balthazar, Matthews, Andragay.
Not one of those.
The second night, the queen sent riders beyond the kingdom to forests, mountains, and distant villages. They returned with names that sounded like whispers from forgotten tongues.
Beor, Tristram, Alaric, and Zimriel.
She tried them all, but the little man only danced with glee.
None of these are mine. One more night, my queen, and then the kid is mine.
Desperation consumed the queen. As the third day waned, she paced the nursery nervously. At dusk, one of her messengers burst into the room, breathless from a hard ride. "My queen," he said, bowing deeply, "I ventured into the deepest part of the forest where no path leads. There I spied a curious sight. A small man dancing around a fire, singing a strange song.
Today I bake, tomorrow I brew. The next I'll have the young queen's child. Oh, how glad I am that no one knew that Rumpelstiltskin is my name. Rumpelstiltskin!
Hope flared like sunrise in the queen's heart. She thanked the messenger and waited through the night, her mind fixed on the secret. When midnight arrived, the little man appeared.
Well, my queen, do you know my name?
Is it Conrad?
No.
Perhaps Nicholas?
No.
Then perhaps your name is Rumpelstiltskin.
The devil told you that! The devil told you that!
Rage twisted his face into something almost inhuman. With a roar of fury, he spun in a circle, his patched coat flaring like a dark flame. Some say he leapt into the air and vanished, leaving only the echo of his cry. However it happened, the little man was never seen again. The queen sank to her knees, clutching her child with tears of relief. The terrible bargain was broken, and her son was safe. In time, the tale of Rumpelstiltskin spread across the kingdom. People whispered of the dangers of pride and the price of rash promises. The miller, humbled by his folly, lived out his days quietly, never again boasting of gifts he did not possess. As for the queen, she raised her child with a heart forever grateful for the messenger's courage and the power of a name. For in the end, it was not gold or crowns that saved her, but the strength of hope, the wisdom to seek help, and the discovery of a truth hidden in the shadows. And so, the kingdom endured, its wealth of gold unmatched, but no treasure shone brighter than the love of a mother who had triumphed over fear.